Today, I want to talk to you about one of the biggest mysteries in mixing. The one thing that everyone is struggling with. The one thing that keeps every musician, producer, or sound engineer awake at night. Bass. But why is everyone struggling with low end? And what can you do to get better bass? This and more in today's video. Let's do it. First and foremost, let's try to answer the most pressing question. Why is everyone struggling with low end? Why is it so difficult to get it right? The answer is actually really simple. Low frequencies have very long wavelengths, which makes it very difficult for our playback systems to accurately reproduce it. This means we'll always get some level of false information in our bass. Most speakers that we use, be it some Bluetooth, JBL speaker, or our studio monitors or headphones, use some sort of technology inside to give the impression of having more bass than what they can actually reproduce. Because here's a simple fact. A 100 Hz sine wave has a wavelength of about 3.5 meters. That is super long, which means we'd need a speaker sufficiently big to accurately reproduce this frequency. So most speakers engage in some sort of technology to create the impression of having lows, even though it can't accurately reproduce them. These technologies can include bass reflex ports or some other internal methodology to give the impression of more bass than is actually there. So this means that to get good bass, you'll need big speakers. There's just no way around it. The second problem, which is even more problematic, is our rooms. Because of the long wavelength of low frequencies, we will inevitably get room modes, which are large dips and boosts at certain frequencies in our rooms. These modes will behave differently in every part of the room, so in one area you might get a 100 Hz boost, whereas in another area you might get a 200 Hz reduction, which will make it even more difficult to judge your low end accurately. Headphones will bypass the room acoustics, but at the same time headphones usually have a very compressed low end, which means that you cannot accurately set the level because you don't really get a true impression of the bass that is happening. So what can you do to get better low end in your mixes? Here are some simple tips that you can use, but also some hard truths that you'll have to consider. Number one, if you are programming music, so you're using programmed drums, programmed bass lines, synths, etc., just trust the manufacturer that those presets have enough bass already. You don't have to boost more bass into a bass synth because it will usually have already enough. If you don't perceive it as having enough bass, then you'll either have to shift it down an octave, maybe that's the problem, or you already have a monitoring problem. So just stick to the manufacturer setting and trust that they have done something good. 90% of the times when I use some sampled kicks or 808s, I never ever feel like I have to boost the low end. Number two, and this kind of ties in with number one, don't over-process your bass. You generally don't have to use that much processing in your mixes. Personally, I try to avoid it as much as possible. Your basic mixing philosophy should be use as much as you have to, but as little as possible. Number three, keep your productions as simple as possible. The low end should be carried by the bass and the kick usually, so try not to overcrown that low register and let these two instruments do their work. If you choose your sounds right, you usually won't even have to EQ these two instruments so they play nicely together. Everything else in the mix can be cut at 70 to 100 Hz and your low end will clean up a lot almost immediately. Number four, and this is the most important, but unfortunately also the most unpopular truth. If you want to have good lows, you have to be able to hear them while you mix. This means that eventually, as you become more and more serious about making music, you will have to invest into a proper playback system and proper room acoustics as well. No software, no plugin, and no other quick fix will address this issue. You can use some software correction in your room, they are really great, but they work much better in a treated room. Because as I said earlier, if you have a room mode that makes your 100 Hz completely disappear, then it will not come back just because a simple software fix. This is just the hard truth, this is the reality, and this is why professional engineers still work in well-treated rooms or in professional studios. Even if you have some smaller speakers like the really popular small KRKs or the Yamahas, they will work a lot better in a treated room as well and will change your mixing immediately. You can reach out to any local acoustician, acoustics company. There's a lot of them out there, and all of them will be happy to help you fix your room. I myself have been designing home studios for the up-and-coming musician and producer as well, so if you want, just get in touch with me and I'm happy to help. For more information, feel free to visit martinmixing.com and hit me up if you want to have a chat. I hope you found this video helpful. I know it's not very popular to tell you the truth sometimes, but this is the reality. If you want good low end, you have to be able to hear it, so just get your room fixed, get some good speakers and headphones, and your mixes will improve dramatically, almost instantly. And it's not just that your low end will get better. Because you can actually hear what you're doing, you will have taken out a lot of the guesswork in your mixing process. Hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy, happy mixing, bye bye.